is a little bit different than how we usually do things. But we were having some internet issues last night. So welcome to episode 4 of RubberDuck Outdoors, featuring our second part of our Firecraft talk. Alec, what's going on, man? You look a little rough around the edges.
Thanks, bud. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a little congested, so if my voice is like nails on chalkboard for you folks, just mute it at this point. I That's fair. I hate how I sound. Josh has already made fun of me a few points, so
Yeah.
this is what we're doing.
Okay.
If I sound disgusted at any point, I do apologize ahead of time. I've been pounding Mucinex.
Mm.
Think that's not Miralax. That's the laxative, right? That'd be a wrong one to drink right now.
Oh man.
And before we kick things off, just want to remind you folks to if you enjoyed this content or any of our others, please like, subscribe, comment. We had someone comment earlier this week. We replied back. If you're watching this, we're waiting for another reply. If you got one, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. As well as if you found us on YouTube, maybe go check out our Instagram page. We got some pretty awesome photos from photographer Josh over there. Go check him out. He does some stories that have content that does not reach this page. It's worth a check.
Yep.
And on that note, let's get into it.
For sure.
So fire part 2. What does that entail? Well, in the last video we talked about, why you might need a fire, different ways to get a spark going. But what then after? You got that spark. Do you just toss it on the wood and call it good? No, you need Tinder, not the app, because that never works.
I don't know. I mean, some people might need Tinder. If anything, is a confidence booster, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've found
Ignore that Tinder.
Yep.
Ignore that Tinder.
We're talking about a different Tinder, a better Tinder.
Yeah.
A useful Tinder.
We're talking about like that.
No one saw that. You're dropping it too fast, bud.
Is it? Damn.
I only saw the last one.
I figured it was going. Oh.
The other two are they just dropped out of screen.
That's the idea. That was the idea.
Yeah, but then no one knows what it is.
A teaser. It's a teaser.
I guess.
Yeah.
Folks, if you thought that was a useful teaser, please comment below.
Okay.
So back to Tinder.
The material.
Let's showcase these things now since we're diving in.
Okay. Well, probably we'll just start off with man-made tinders to start with, because from our location may be different than someone else's location, therefore that plant that you can get the natural tinder from here might not be anywhere near where you're from. So we'll just start with the man-made stuff. And one of my favorites, and it seems to be pretty much across the board, most people's favorites.
Hey, bud. One moment. What? Just sorry. I don't believe we're streaming right now.
Oh God.
Folks, if anyone is watching, if this is going through, I just did a check and it doesn't look like it is. Bear with us. Technology sucks.
Yeah, let me look real quick.
Oh, it says we are streaming.
So we're good.
Oh, yep,
right?
we are. Sorry about that, folks. Greatly apologize. Well, that'll get edited out.
But
Give a little
okay,
pause so I
where?
can edit that back in real quick.
Huh?
That'll do it. Perfect. Okay, so you were saying, Josh.
Okay. Char cloth, right? I was talking about char cloth.
Oh my God, dude! Oh, jeez.
This is
Yeah,
a rough one
yeah,
for
it
us.
is. This is probably gonna be. This is a rocky road. Hey, but it's a learning experience, folks.
That's right. Yep.
Oh, we'll only get better from here.
So
Oh,
we're talking char cloth again.
yeah, char
And
cloth.
char cloth. This is just a 100% cotton material, so that could be a t-shirt. This was actually a pair of blue jeans.
So, but
That
isn't
kind of,
blue jeans denim?
yes,
So denim and cotton can work.
denim is cotton, isn't it? I
That was
actually don't know
different.
what denim is. I thought denim was just a pattern.
I don't know. I should ask my lady friend.
I don't know. Someone tell us what the hell denim is, because neither one of us know.
No, is it the same as cotton, or is it different?
Or is it because it's dyed? That
No,
would
I
make.
feel like it's a completely different material altogether.
I don't know. Well, this was a pair of blue jeans, and now
Okay.
it's a super thin, frail black, tears very easily, and it also takes a spark very, very
Yes, it
quickly.
does.
I got a lighter here. It might be too thick for a lighter or from a spark from a lighter to make it light,
You should
but
be
I'm
able
not
to
going to
still
start.
get that.
Yeah, I don't want to accidentally hit it with the flame either, though.
I suppose.
But this stuff kind of just it picks up your spark and then it just gradually smolders and smolders and smolders and gets bigger. And with it getting bigger, gets hotter. And with that, you usually put it into another Tinder bundle. So this is to catch your spark, where you introduce it to something light and fluffy that'll combust that you can take to your kindling, your thin, wispy stuff to actually get the flame going to then be able to proceed with everything else. So that's the first option of man-made tinder. And it's relatively easy to make too. You just need a metal container. It doesn't matter what size it is. The only difference with size is how much you can make at once, obviously.
Hmm.
So back to the whole fire kit thing. That's why I was talking about I have mine in a metal container with this hole popped in the center of it. So then once I do have the fire all taken care of and everything, if I'm getting low on this char cloth, I can just cut up some more cotton, dump everything that's in here out, put the fresh cotton in, close it up, and then you just throw it into the fire. And there'll be like it'll be almost like a smokestack coming out of this stuff, just a bunch of smoke. And that's your material charring but not burning, because the whole idea of this is to allow gas to release,
Hmm.
but not enough where there's a bunch of oxygen in here that's going to make it burn.
Yeah,
So look,
once you see smoke, pull it out. Like a lot of smoke. Because then it's starting to burn.
right, that means that you got too much oxygen getting to it. You didn't close it enough, or your hole's too big, or something like that.
Or it's done.
I mean, you can't really overcook this stuff.
Can start to almost get ashy.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can do that. That's a fair point. Uh, where was I going?
Next, man-made.
Next man made. That's right. This one's super easy. A lot easier than this char cloth because it doesn't take any fire to use it with. or to make it. And this is probably one of the most common ones, with just cotton balls and Vaseline.
Yep.
Some chapsticks work for this too, I believe, depending on what it's made out of. But the cotton is there to, of course, catch your spark off of your ferro rod or whatever you're popping onto it. And then the Vaseline is there just as a flame extender.
Oh.
So it makes the cotton ball last a lot longer, to where if you just lit a normal cotton ball on fire, it would burn for like 5 seconds, 15 maybe.
Yeah.
But with this Vaseline on, it'll burn upwards of around 3 minutes. So you get a lot more bang for it out of this. And it's a fun thing to practice with too. Farther on down the line, it turns into a bit more of an emergency use thing, because it does get kind of boring just always knowing you got 3 minutes worth of flame to get everything else burning.
Yeah.
This stuff makes it a little bit trickier. And some of these others make it even a little more trickier than that. What other man-made tinders do? Oh, right. So on the last video, I also had this thing held closed with these rubber bands, which is just an old bike inner tube. You know, you just cut them into certain widths, and they're just like really strong, badass rubber bands. But because they're rubber, they burn very well. And obviously it's not good for the environment, but if it's super wet and you're in a bit of a pickle, you just burn a little bit of rubber. And I got like a sheet of rubber on the bottom of this thing about the size of this tin that I can just cut strips off of if I need to, just to give me a little bit more help with getting fire going. So, and obviously this stuff you don't even need to make, you just need to find it. So, and if anyone has a junk bike in the garage,
there you go.
That's how I found this stuff. Or just buy a bike inner tube. They're like $7 each. The cheap ones. And then you get like 100 rubber bands out of it. So you'd be fine.
Yeah.
The last man-made one that I have that may be kind of difficult to find, potentially, maybe not. I haven't really looked around for it a lot in stores. I just happen to find them. Are lamp wicks.
I know Fleet Farm usually has those.
I feel like Walmart has lamp wicks too, because they got some
Yeah, I could see it.
oil lamps.
Yeah, Walmart, Fleet Farm.
Fred Meyer out in Washington had lamp wick. I know that.
Yeah, Josh, remember most of our viewers, I believe, are Midwest. If you're not from the Midwest, let us know.
Yeah. We got a little bit of area coverage around the country for the most part.
Oh, well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But lamp work works really well also, especially if it was already soaked in oil, not like it's dripping in oil. Obviously this is dry now, but it just burns for a really long time, and it's a bit like a longer lasting version of char cloth is basically what it is. Right here is the char cloth, and all of this is gonna turn to char as this burns back. So it's like a really long, flexible, flimsy match, basically.
Yep.
That's what I got for man-mades
Okay.
right now.
Not bad, not bad. Well,
Oh,
man-made.
wait, I lied.
Oh, you got more?
One more. That's already over there. Duct tape also works as well, but you got to shred it up and do relatively thin strips like this, which I was doing it last night. It takes some muscular fingers
To tear.
I mean, the strip I pulled off was only that long because I didn't want to use a bunch of it for, just holding it up and showing it.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard to get a grip on it. I mean, it's only 1 inch wide in the first place. But this stuff burns up pretty, well, it burns up pretty quick. It's like a mix between the char cloth and the rubber. It's kind of a sweet spot. But that'll take a spark pretty well as long as you get it ripped down fine enough. Something to experiment with. Now that's all I have for
Okay.
handmade and homemade.
Uh, and well, I guess then into the natural.
Yeah. Natural, I don't have too much sitting in front of me at the moment. I got 3.
3.
And
Okay.
this is where we get a little bit more regional specific.
Yeah, that's
The
gonna be.
first, yeah, the first one is as long as you have pine trees growing, you're going to have it. And that's this orange wood that, you can call it pitch wood or fat wood or I think it's got a lot of different names.
Candlewood.
Candlewood, but this is really just part of the tree where after it dies or if a limb gets damaged, all of the sap gets sucked back towards the trunk or to the root ball to kind of patch that wound. It's kind of like the reverse of, when you get cut open, a bunch of blood cells come to, close that spot up. These guys kind of say, okay, we're damaged here. We're going to let that part die and we're going to patch it behind the wound so the rest of the tree doesn't get all jacked up. And then this is what you get left with after that whole process is just this resin impregnated wood that you can light it with a lighter if you want. You can make some feather sticks with it if you want. Or you can knock it with a ferro rod or a flint and steel kit as long as you scrape it off. And I don't know if this is going to show up on this camera at all.
Yeah, I can see that at least.
You
So
can kind of
other
see
people
it.
should.
But just very, very fine shavings that you just scrape off with the spine of your knife. It's basically sawdust. But obviously it's staying in one clump for the most part. It's because of all the resin in it is making it just stick together. And that'll burn up a lot longer than you would think something even just that size would. Now, obviously, this little bit isn't going to burn for a minute, but it'll probably still go for about 10 seconds. So if you get a decent pile of it, you can, make that go for a good 2 or 3 minutes while all of your kindling, if for some reason it's wet, gives it time to dry out and then catch fire to, get the rest of your fire making stuff aflame. So, like I said, as long as you have some sort of pine tree in your area and you look hard enough, you'll be able to find this stuff. They also sell it in some stores too, I think. Like I think in Fleet Farm, you got or I can't remember where I got some, but I bought a box of it for like starting wood stoves.
Oh, yep.
They have boxes of fat wood too. So if you didn't want to bother looking for it,
You can always buy it.
yep. Yep.
What's another thing that can be found from pine trees, Josh?
This kind of goes along the line of the Vaseline and those cotton balls, but the pine sap. And this is the same thing as that wound. You search for a wound on a pine tree, chances are there's going to be some sort of clumpy, sticky, or it might even just look like bark like this piece does here. But it's all just pine sap that burns for a ridiculously long time. If you're holding it and you light it, be very careful that it does not drip on you.
Yeah.
Because it will drip. And it will drip in little balls of fire, like raining from hell onto your hand. And it burns like a sumbitch.
Oh.
So don't get caught in that. Alec, you've done more of the melting this and wrapping it into on a stick on like a big
Oh,
match
for what is that?
glue.
For pitch glue?
Yeah,
Yeah, so with that, I mean, that's kind of getting away from, it's not necessarily a tinder at that point.
it is still a flame extender though.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes. You
So
could
you
light
gotta
the whole
add,
thing on fire and stuff it in. It's like a primitive flare or a torch.
I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, so no, you gotta add in dirt, believe dirt or like charcoal and ash, and then
Okay.
grasses, and then you just slowly mix that in. There's a certain ratio. I thought it was 2 to 1, but it has been a while since I made that stuff.
Okay.
Um, and I've tried to work around getting bigger batches because essentially, once you heat that stuff up and apply it to whatever you want, or get it to like a thick consistency after it's been made, and then you just can spoon it out and then use it as glue. It's a incredibly strong glue right there. But in order to make a big batch, it's kind of difficult. I've been trying to work that one out, but maybe
Mm,
one of these next few videos might be on that.
yeah, that'd work.
But now that we've done, do you have any others, Jess?
I have two more.
Okay, I'll keep you going.
Two more. Now we start to get a little bit more regional than even this part. And this tends to be more in the northern areas, which most people know quite a bit about, is birch bark. And obviously, just from looking at this is paper birch. Why is it called paper birch, Josh? Well, look at it.
Because it is the way it is.
It is because it looks like, yeah, you can tell by the way it is.
Yep,
It's just floppy, you know.
you can write on it. It's
The
paper
floppy
thin.
bird. But this stuff, because it can get down so thin and so papery, it does take a spark very quickly. The best part about it, though, is that it also, like fat wood, has its own type of oil that's inside of the bark, which gives it this very black smoke when you light it on fire. So it burns very hot. It burns quickly, but if you get a lot of it, and it's not difficult to
Uh,
collect a lot of it, you're going to be sitting pretty good, even if you do have relatively wet kindling to light this big ball of birch bark on fire and put that wet kindling on. For the most part, it's going to dry out pretty quickly
hmm
and catch light before the birch bark's all gone. Especially if you throw in a couple chunks of these as well, mixed into your big bird's nest of birch bark. If you can't get a fire going with that,
You're doing something wrong.
you're going to need to put in a little bit of extra because that's a pretty bulletproof
Yeah.
bird. That's like a Rolls Royce of birds' nests. So, and then the last one that I got here is I brought back from Washington. I didn't know I brought this back from Washington. I just found it, and this is gonna make a god awful mess. So I'll try to get the big chunks. But this is bark from a western red cedar. Eastern reds work as well, of course, and juniper bark grows roughly the same way. I don't know what I'm doing wrong with juniper, but I can't get the shit to light.
I don't know.
But I gotta play around a little bit more. Oh God.
Did I give you the cough?
No, it just poofed at me. I
Oh,
mean, it's so dusty. The camera's not picking it up, but there's
no.
just a damn smoke grenade going off.
Tuh.
But this stuff breaks down very, very fibrous, and fibrous is what we're looking for when we're talking about natural tinders to get as much of a surface area that you can get with it being very, very thin and broken down to be able to catch those sparks that you drop onto it. And this is also very easy to harvest once you've found the tree. So that's the trick. Now
Yep,
comes
gotta
the
find the
whole
tree.
plant ID. You gotta understand what your materials look like in its natural form before you can gather them and where to find them. So that's the trick. But these were just a few quick natural tinders that I got sitting here in front of me right now.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, so you got your fire, but now you need to keep on moving in this scenario. How are we going to transport that?
Why do we need to transport it? What if you got to be on the move?
Exactly.
I mean, that's where this scenario is going, is if you need to be on the move and for some reason you didn't have any of your what if items on you and you just use that last match, you got your fire, but now you need to move it. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. If you are a smoker, you can sacrifice some smokes and you can start one of those on fire and you can carry that because really you're just carrying an ember. A cigar works even better because a cigar burns a lot longer,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you get one of the fat ones that takes like an hour and a half to smoke. You just light that thing and then just either hold it in your hand or somehow attach it to your pack where it's not going to burn anything and just monitor it to make sure it keeps smoking, keeps smoldering. That's the ticket that we're looking for when transporting fire, is having something that will light, but it won't
Burn.
burst into flame.
Yeah.
It'll just smolder, which is exactly what a cigar does, which is exactly what a cigarette does. So when coming into the whole, I need to carry this ember from point A to point B, just think about a cigar. How's that packed? It's very tightly bound, loose material, like this red cedar bark, but not so tightly that you can't, manipulate it at all. You can still kind of squish it down
And air through. Or
and
air
have some air
gets through.
going through it. Right. So that brings us to our next point of you could build an Apache match, which is basically all of this tinder material wrapped into a cigar shape. And you carry it the same way. Don't I wouldn't smoke it. It's not gonna do anything for you. It's just gonna make you cough a lot. But just fanning it through the air a little bit every now and then just to keep the oxygen going through it will help a lot with that whole burning process. And then there's also the tinder fungus, which is a type of mushroom that's more commonly found in the northern states and in Canada. So if you're down south in New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, Florida, I'm sure that there's going to be,
Alternatives.
yeah. I mean, there's alternatives for everything all over the world that are basically used in the same way, but just a different material.
Or different name for it. Yeah.
Right. So that's going to be some regional research on the viewer's part.
Yeah, we're not doing it for you.
No, no, we're here in the Midwest.
Yep. There's also punkwood. So when a tree is fallen, pretty much rotten and dead, you find those center pieces of wood that are super like spongy. Get a really big chunk of it. As big as you can carry that won't slow you down. And then toss some embers in it. Get that smoldering. You're set.
Mm-hmm.
Just be careful if you find a dead standing tree and you go to knock it down, that pieces don't go flying and hit you.
Yeah, be cautious.
Yeah. Especially if the top is dead, more dead than the bottom. It does like this motion.
Mm-hmm.
It will send things flying.
Stand behind the person that's pushing it down,
Yeah.
not in front.
Yep.
That's where we'll leave it at that one. That'll be another story.
Yeah. Uh, also cloth, which is essentially the uncharred version of char cloth, or is in the same vein of like the rope lighter or Josh's lamp wick. Same
Lampwick.
idea. Just a piece of your shirt though.
Mm-hmm. And if the situation's bad enough, you're gonna have to sacrifice some things.
Oh yeah.
So that means cutting a strip of your shirt off.
Yeah. I just hope
As
it's
long as
not,
it's warm outside.
a $500 shirt.
Yeah.
Just kind of blowing money at that point. Granted, you don't really care because you're in that situation, but
Yeah. Still feels better to just burn a $2 Hanes t-shirt.
Walmart t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go Walmart. Not a sponsor.
God.
Uh,
I hope not.
yeah. Anyone else? If you guys want to sponsor us, that'd be cool. More than happy.
Yeah.
So, we also have a few other fire starting methods, like with our car. There's a few techniques you can use with that. Josh, have you done much with these? I've done like a few here and there, but
Not a ton.
okay.
Not a
Um,
ton. Just the general idea of it. Why is it a bad idea to touch the teeth of your jumper cables together when the other end is already connected to the battery? It'll produce some sparkage,
a lot of sparkage.
which is what you're looking for when you need to get a fire going.
Yep.
So, other than just saving your ass when your battery dies in a parking lot or on the side of the road or something like that, carry the jumper cables because you can still get a fire going.
Yeah.
Also, what's whenever you pull up to the gas station, why is there a sign that says no smoking at the pump? Because you're going to blow your ass up. But all of that gas is in your gas tank. And if you really need to get a fire going, you'll be able to siphon out. Don't dump the whole tank, but just a cap full
Yeah.
on your Tinder to just get a spark somewhere in the area. And don't light it near the gas tank either. And close the gas cap as
Yeah.
well. If you need to come to this whole,
Method.
hopefully not very realistic situation.
Yeah. Older cars that still have the little push button doohickey. I forget what it's called. The
The
for
cigarette
lighting
light,
cigarettes, where
yeah,
you normally plug in
the
your
9
phone
volt,
to charge.
yeah, the 9-volt cigarette lighter.
There you go. That gets red hot and can burn you for a reason. Could
Mm-hmm.
start a fire.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
the the old bourbon truck has a few of those cigarette lighter burns on the floor.
nice.
Yeah, there's a couple spirals here and there in the carpeting.
Got it hot and dropped it?
Yeah,
Or were you a child and was just playing with it?
no, I actually wanted to see if this method would work. So I had a Tinder bundle and I took it to my truck and I held the cigarette lighter in because it's old, so you can't just push it in and then it stays in until it's hot.
Oh,
I need to actually hold it now. So I was holding it there for about 10 seconds and I pulled it out and it was red hot and I took it to my Tinder bundle and that went right into flames. And without thinking, I had the cigarette lighter in one hand and this burning ball of birch bark in my other hand. And the birch bark was more important than the lighter, so I just set the lighter down on the carpet and went to take this to the fire, and it
Nice.
Melted a little hole in the carpeting, but
Hey, it adds character.
it does. And it was on the point where like the floor mat would have been. I didn't
Oh,
have the floor mat in at the time, so it's like just hidden up by the floor mat now
yeah,
anyway.
there you
So it
go.
doesn't matter. But it does, and that one's a lot safer than gasoline.
Oh, yeah.
You don't blow up that way.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, those are just the ones that we had off the tops of our heads. If any more grease monkeys have a better idea on other ways to start a fire with your vehicle, let us know,
Yeah,
because
we'd
it's
love to
always
know.
nice to look at your vehicle as a multi-tool as opposed to just a mode of transportation.
Sweet. And, oh, looks like our last little point here. So, you get your fire going. Now what? You're still stuck wherever you are. What can you use that fire for to help you out or get you out?
Mm-hmm.
So, it can help with signaling. You could have a few small little fires or a bunch of big fires that spell out something, or a really hot, bright fire to show people, like, hey, I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
as well as protection. If you are in the big, deep woods, there's lots of unfriendly animals that might come poking around and checking you out that you don't want to have a chat with. Fire will help keep them at least a little ways away.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Heat. That's the most common thing people think of. It's heat, light, and a cooking source.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all very well good things to have, as well as sanitation and sterilization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think you should take the last two, Josh.
I mean, when we had our little fumble with whether we were actually streaming or
Oh,
not, I had to run over
okay.
on
I'll just tell them to you, then you
YouTube.
can take them from there.
Wait, hold up. I got it now. There we go.
You get. Oh, yep. That's the camera.
Well, I had to put it up in front of me again. Um, Entertainment is kind of a philosophical one, sort of, but
Not really, but
not
okay.
really. I mean, how many times have you had a fire at a friend's house? You're all sitting around drinking some beers or listening to some music or just relaxing, and 11:30 rolls around and the group's still there, but nobody's talking, and everyone's just like staring in at the big bed of coals that this fire that's been burning for the past 6 hours has just created. It's kind of mesmerizing, and it gives you something to take your mind off of what's going on.
That it does.
And it like even me saying that, it sounds like a really weird, trippy thing. Like, oh no, that's bullshit. But when you're actually in the situation and you actually finally have that bed of embers going with some flames still going off, you do catch yourself not thinking about anything else other than just how those embers change in color from completely black to almost white and then all the different shades of orange and yellow in between. It is very relaxing and it helps your morale out a lot just to kind of space out for that little bit of time.
It's kind of like nature's lava lamp.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good way of putting it.
There
People say caveman TV, but I like nature's lava lamp more.
you go, bud. Uh,
And like we said before, entertainment, it brings people around. So if you are in some group situation, it'll be a common place for everybody to shoot the shit, really. And then our final use of it is the ability to make containers, as in burn bowls, as in burn plates, I guess. It's just a shallow
Sure.
burn bowl.
Yeah.
All the way up to a dugout canoe, which the main way that people made dugout canoes was to chop it flat and then just start burning into it and then cutting away the burnt wood as they would go along. So anything from as big as a normal or as small as a normal soda can to as big as a canoe, you can make a container of any types of, any size with just, you know, this fire that's sitting in front of you. Provided you got the firewood,
Yeah.
be able to make it happen. And then from there is where you can fill it up with water and treat it, which will be a different episode talking about water treatment and sterilization.
So, if you liked this circus of a show or any of the content you saw today, please like, subscribe, maybe even comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. Uh, really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said before, check out the Instagram. Maybe send that a follow. Josh puts out some amazing photos.
Yep.
Really good work, as well as some stories to keep you updated. That's kind of our main route to keep you updated on this channel if anything does happen. So yeah,
Right.
with
It's
that,
a lot.
I'm hmm,
It's a lot quicker to throw a story up on some sort of update as opposed to getting this whole
yeah,
thing arranged.
yes, it is. Yeah. And on that note, I'm Alec,
I'm Josh.
and this is RubberDuck Outdoors.
We'll see you guys later.